Within Moorr, all transactions require a transaction source, being the source that the transaction originated from. Rather, in these particular cases, this means that these transactions occurred within this particular bank account. Now, when you have transaction accounts, you're inevitably going to have cases where you have amounts that are either deposited via the ATM as cash or over the counter, and also amounts that you are going to withdraw from that particular bank account to have as cash on hand. So the platform itself will automatically identify cases whereby there are cash transactions, and it will suggest that these get parked into a particular card called the cash on hand asset card. So you can find this over here under the bank account asset card, cash on hand. And if you don't have one already, when you go through here, it will actually direct you to create a new one if you'd like to. So the reason this is handy as an example is, let's say, for example, I've got a counter withdrawal of $300 over here, which I've taken out as cash over the counter and I've popped it into my wallet. But I actually don't know what exactly I'm going to use it for immediately. But I do know for a fact that I'll need this cash in my wallet for the next 6 months or so. With that being said, because I don't know exactly what this amount is actually being spent on, I can actually go ahead and basically park it in this cash on hand account, which I'll go ahead and do now. So I'll just go ahead and hit confirm. And if I know for a fact that I've now gone ahead and spent a little bit of that cash, let's say I spent $50 on a haircut, I can basically say, yep, I've paid this out of cash. And that is for haircuts in personal care. I can go ahead and record that transaction against my cash on hand card so that I can have a bit of a reconciliation record for what's happening in that particular space. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, I know for a fact that I've taken cash out at the supermarket and I'm using it specifically for a specific purpose. Let's say I've paid a florist who only accepts cash. I can actually go ahead and change this. So it's no longer an allocation tool from cash on hand, but that's, let's say, presents and gifts. Because I've spent $50 on flowers as an example, I can go ahead and allocate that transaction directly. It doesn't necessarily need to be cash there, but I do want to reconcile and allocate that particular transaction to the presents and gifts area. So you can see the haircut one that I put through earlier, put a couple through prior to that. And then if I go through and I search for the one that I did for presents and gifts, let's see, presents and gifts. You see that I've got the cash out supermarket, which is the amount that I spent as cash, but that's going to be recorded as an expense for presents and gifts. Now, with regards to cash deposits, you can use this in a number of ways. So if you've basically received some sort of petty cash somewhere along the way, and you don't necessarily want to record this as an income source, you can always basically say that, yeah, this is just cash that came up from the side, and I just want to go ahead and allocate that as, that's just an amount that's come in via cash. I don't want to recognize that necessarily as income. I can go ahead and do that. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, I do a little bit of work on the side. I'm self-employed. If I'm an electrician and I'm doing a little bit of work for people on the side in my own time, I can actually go ahead and say, yeah, you know what, that's this $1,000 that I've deposited at the branch is actually in relation to, money that I've received for my self-employed income. So those are the options that I have to do that. So in summary, with cash transactions, you've got the cash on hand card allocation, which you can use to record money coming in and out from literally your petty cash on hand, or you can always, choose to allocate those particular transactions to where they need to go, provided you know exactly what you spent the cash on. And then finally, you can always record individual cash transactions by going to the plus button over here and adding in a manual transaction.